One of the first bikes that I test rode on this channel was the Triumph Street Twin. And luckily for me, they just brought out a new one. It is not a brand new bike. There is nothing dramatically different about it. It is just an improvement on the last. But since the last was pretty damn good, I'm expecting great things.
So, 2019 Triumph Street Twin. I have ridden the Street Twin. It was one of the first bikes that I test rode, and I liked it a lot. So you won't be surprised if I tell you that I like this one. And I do, because they haven't changed an awful lot. It was due an update, so that's exactly what they've done. First one came out, I believe, in 2016 now. We are now in 2019. We have a slightly newer version, which has about 10 brake horsepower more than the original, and some better suspension and some better brakes. A little bit of a better finish as well. I'm thinking mainly of that clock up front. As for the engine, I'm going to say, although it is a little peppier, it does make more horsepower, but it makes it higher up, about 7,500 revs. That also makes it a smidge softer, actually, on throttle response. I remember the original being quite torquey, quite a punchy thing, and this has the same torque output. It's 59 foot-pounds, I think, thereabouts. The difference being that it's spread slightly further across the rev range. It's got a really nice and satisfying rumble when you're hanging onto the throttle. Very, very nice. And it doesn't feel like something I would get bored of. You'll find its limitations, I'm sure, pretty soon, and you'd actually get quite comfortable with it quite quickly as well. But it's got plenty of overtaking power, it's got plenty of acceleration, and plenty to keep you interested. Nice road. Oh God, you can breathe a bit freer when you get out of the city. I live for roads like this. I live for days like this.
So is it boring of me to say that I like the bike? Yeah, probably. Is it boring to say that I would own one of these? Again, yes, probably. And some of you will probably just assume that I'm in Triumph's pocket, or that I'm a fanboy for some reason, that I just really like Triumph. And you're entitled, obviously, to your own opinion, even if it's wrong. As I say, I am looking for a new bike, and this is definitely a bike that I am considering.
Should talk you through some of the extras on this, actually, whilst we're here. I believe these are aftermarket. I think the stock ones aren't quite as nice as that, because I've seen them on the Speed Twin, front and back, and they have as well changed the rear shocks. So these Fox shocks are not standard. This is something you can buy aftermarket. What you probably want to do as well is change the cans, although it is, for a stock bike, one of the nicest sounding straight out the box. That should give you an idea now.
Let's break down the specs before I explain why I like this bike so much. Starting with the engine, it is their 900cc liquid-cooled parallel twin. But for the time being, just the Street Twin and the Scrambler have been given this new lease of life. Which means that it makes 65 horsepower at 7,500 revs. It now revs higher than it originally did. And 59 foot-pounds at 3,800 revs. Cruising up to a top speed of around 120.
But let's see what 7,500 revs feels like. Let me see if I can boil this down. 7,500 revs feels like 6,500 revs, but 1,000 higher. That's the explanation I'm going to give. It does feel fine. I know personally I'd be changing up quicker than that, because it doesn't feel like you're chasing a huge spike in performance when you get up that high. I'd probably be letting it rest around the 5-6 mark and change it around. I do like to chase revs, I do like to keep it high. It keeps the engine a little bit more responsive. But I'm perfectly happy around the 3,000 mark.
The throttle is also ride-by-wire, and it has rider modes, or at least 2 of them. It has road and rain. Rain obviously just limits the power slightly. Being ride-by-wire, there is a delay on that throttle. It does feel somewhat disconnected from the rear wheel, which is a bit of a shame, but not a deal breaker.
I like it. I like it. The only thing I would say is that maybe this is something that was true of the original. I don't know, I can't remember, it's been a while. But it is sliding me forward, definitely in a town. Less so when you are picking up speed, going around some B roads. But I start off about here, where I sort of feel like I want to be, and it just slides you forward to about there.
Seat height of 760mm. I love a low bike, especially for a town. If you're a little bit longer in leg, you probably will want the Scrambler, which is obviously taller, and will therefore give you slightly better visibility, but not by a huge margin.
Something else I'm noticing as well, that's got to be the lightest clutch I've ever felt in my life. In my life. Yeah, I mean, if you're going around a city, this is what you need. The turning circle on that is quite impressive, actually. To some people, that'll be a very mundane point, but not if you've ever spent any time in London.
We've got an 18-inch front wheel, 17-inch rear. We have deliberate and smooth handling. Full lock is really quite forgiving as well. You can get around some tight corners in a city. It ain't a light bike, but you should assume that going in because it is a Triumph. It's around 218 kilograms, and it does at times feel heavy, although obviously not when you're moving.
Real tiny point, but I think what I'm noticing with the rear brake is that the riding position means that my foot is kind of constantly hovering over it, because when I'm in a city I tend to ride on my heel on the right, ready to press the brake, but it does mean that there's a bit of tension in my ankle to keep from accidentally just sagging my foot onto the brake and switching on the light on the back. It wouldn't really slow down the bike much, but people behind you would get pissed off because your tail light keep coming on.
The brakes have been improved. It now has a 310mm disc on the front and a Brembo caliper. 4-piston. I would now consider it to have good and decent braking power, which is of course useful for anyone who wants to stop for any reason.
Oh, that is pretty. That I like a lot. A Jawa? Isn't that from Star Wars? Jamie, I know you don't watch my reviews anymore, but tell me, is that from Star Wars? Watch where you're going, old lady. Oh, lady. I know you were just going around the corner, but you weren't even looking.
And then it's selling, of course, for £8,100, or at least the starting price, which, if memory serves, is roughly the same amount as the original Street Twin. If you compare it to its market, anything more than that, and it would be slightly too expensive, I would say, for what you're actually getting.
The original also didn't have a rev gauge. This one does. You just press the information and get along to it. There we go. I'm only at about 3,500. As I say, it goes up to 7. What I'll probably do is turn around on this road and actually check how that feels accelerating. You know, just for science and clarification. Like.
So why is this bike so good? Why do people rave about it? Why does it sell in such huge numbers? Part of the reason is because Triumph have read the market so damn well. Another part of the reason is that they have made a quality, decent product. You don't often hear these things going wrong. They don't break very often. To pretty much everyone, that's important. Not only that, they're plucky and they're fun. They are unintimidating for anyone who is new to the biking scene, and they have a pang of nostalgia for those that have been biking for a long while. It's a wide market. You could say that it's bland or boring, but that would be like when people insult Honda, because they just work well. If you're looking for drama, you won't find it here. If you're looking for something unique and exclusive, again, you won't find it here. If you're looking for something versatile and fun, however, this might be the bike for you. Certainly not groundbreaking, certainly not revolutionary, but it is an improvement on the last.
I know that if I'd just passed my test and I had £8,100 knocking about, this is possibly the direction I would go, although actually having ridden it, I'd potentially go for the Street Cup, although not if I was using it in a town. Would I plump the extra money and go for the Scrambler if I was using it in a town? Again, probably not, because it's a commuter at the end of the day and I don't want to spend any extra money on something that is at risk. I think the main reason I would ever go that route is if I was a little bit taller myself and found my legs ached sitting on this thing. Brakes are very good. Non-switchable ABS, but switchable traction control. As the man in the shop said, so that you can do burnouts and wheelies. He knows me all too well. No, that's definitely not me. Anyway, with that said, back to me in the studio. Ta-ra. Whoops, speed camera.
Thank you very much for watching. For anyone new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. If you want to check out my videos in the near future, I have tried the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, which is similar to this bike, just a lot cheaper. And as previously mentioned, I am looking for a new bike, so I will do a summary of all the bikes I've tested in the first part of this year to see which one I ended up with. Thanks for watching, see you soon.